Okay, it's past. We're going to make a start now. So, bore da, croeso cynnes I chi gyd. Good morning and welcome to this meeting today with the Swansea Bay Business Club. A very warm welcome to you all on behalf of the board, our season sponsor Swansea University School of Management, and today's event sponsor Swansea Bid. Thank you for your support. My phone's going off. That's a good start. Thank you for your support. As always, and for getting involved. Again, can also thank Swansea University School of Management for facilitating the meeting today, which is always very, very welcomed, and for continue your support as the main sponsors for the club. We have some senior representatives from regional business with us today, and the topic is retail, the changing face of the high street. We will discuss what they have done and are doing in relation to the COVID crisis and how they see the future of that sector going forward. On the panel today, we have Jane Wallace-Jones, CEO of Something Different Wholesale, Ireg Lewis, owner of Jackie James in Carmarthen, Catherine Jones, Sales and Marketing Director at Castle Howell Foods, Chris Jones, Managing Director of Corgi Socks, and Russell Greenslade, Chief Executive of Swansea Bid Business Improvement District, our event sponsor. So thank you for joining us today and thank you for sponsoring Russell. We all know these are extremely difficult times for most businesses with so much uncertainty. It's not healthy for business or people. Some business sectors hit more than others, especially the ones here today. Let's get some thoughts from the panel later. The mental health and well-being of everyone is a real concern for many. I feel it's so important we keep talking and communicating now more than ever. It's not over yet. Our club partners are a key part of the club, without whom events like this would not be possible. They are listed on the screen behind me. Thank you for all your time and support. I've mentioned before, we have a lot to be grateful for in our region at the moment with some sectors. We can all see the Golden Gate Bridge has gone up in Swansea and it's been a great topic of conversation. Projects throughout our region as part of the city deal are moving at a cracking fair pace now, and we can see from the press and social media platforms. Before we start, can you use the chat function to make a comment or ask a question? Unfortunately, not all questions may be shared. However, we'll do our best to get them to the panel. The event will be recorded and clips will be shared on our social media platforms and with our members. Okay, moving on, can I ask the panel to introduce yourselves, please, and tell us a little bit about the business. Jane Wallace-Jones. Jane, can you unmute? It's the famous unmute, I know.
Oh, that's a great start, isn't it? Sorry, guys. Right, I'm Jane Wallace-Jones. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Jane Wallace-Jones. I'm the founder and the CEO of Something Different Wholesale. We design and distribute giftware to the trade. I started 30 years ago from a market stall, and it's grown primarily organically, but I've also done 2 small acquisitions along the way. I've got a design team in-house. We manufacture in various different places across the world. We then import the products into our warehouse in Swansea, and then we do all the sales and distribution from here. 75% of our sales go to the UK, and the other 25% go across the rest of the world. We currently employ 78 people, but with the rapid shift to online, we have a very strong online presence. So with the rapid shift to online that the pandemic's caused, our expansion plans have grown somewhat. We're just in the process of buying a bigger warehouse, and our 3-year projections estimate that we'll be employing 120 people by the end of the 3 years.
Fantastic, thank you, Jane. Ireg Lewis, please.
Hi, good morning. I'm Ireg Lewis. I'm the owner of Jackie James Menswear in Carmarthen. We're obviously a men's boutique shop. We employ about 5 people currently. We've expanded quite rapidly in 5 years, as I've said, and we've recently just moved from 1,200 square foot premises into 8,000 square feet premises in the middle of a pandemic. Some would say that's madness. Some would say it's an opportunity. I'll let you know in 12 months whether I'm mad or genius.
Thank you, Ireg. That's great. Catherine Jones, please.
Hi, yes, Catherine Jones, Castell Foods. We're predominantly wholesale. We've always been wholesale, but due to the pandemic, over the last 12 months, we rapidly changed over to retail, total different industry. So we were employing at the beginning of the pandemic about the equivalent of 780 full-time staff. Unfortunately, we've, whether it be natural or redundancies, have had to reduce the staff by over 120. Some of these people have been with us a very long time, so you can imagine it was a horrendous process. One of the members of staff been with us over 20 years. But as you know, we haven't sort of sat back and taken it because, nothing will come and find you. So as I say, going down the retail route has been the way of sort of helping things along the way, helping the public be able to buy products, the compulsory toilet paper, pasta and flour that everybody was rushing to the supermarkets for and couldn't get. Which I'm sure some people have still got that bag of rice and pasta in their cupboards now. But, we've done a lot of work, spent a lot of time, invested money and time in changing the business model to being retail. And I think a positive that has come out of it, and I hope that will continue, is that it's raised awareness in our industry, the food side of it, on local produce. And I think people have been a lot more willing to try and support local produce. And I think that's one big positive we've had out of it. And I just cannot wait until hospitality get a pathway. Even a pathway would help, because we're way behind on that at the moment with our other countries. But I just hope that we get a pathway before long, so there's something to look forward to.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kath. Chris Jones.
Hi there. Chris Jones with Corgi. It's Corgi Hosiery in Amberford, so Corgi Socks. We're sort of known for making socks, but we do socks and knitwear. We'd say it's at the luxury end. So everything we make in Amberford. The socks, they retail from sort of £10, anything up to £200 a pair. So we can make some really expensive socks. Our knitwear is mostly cashmere, and we do some wool. So knitwear retails from £500 a garment, a lot of it. So it's quite expensive stuff. We do about 60% in the UK. So mostly we supply, we wholesale to shops. We do 60% in the UK, and then the rest is export to about 35, 40 countries around the world. Our fastest growing market at the moment is China. That's gone bonkers. That's doubling every year. So we've also got a small factory shop. So we do a little bit of retail. The main growth in the business then is the online. So we've got an online shop. At the moment is about 15% of the business, but it's growing 50% a year at the moment. So especially we found during the pandemic, we've had some really good growth. So.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chris. Russell Greenslade, please.
Yes, I'm the Chief Executive of Swansea Business Improvement District. For those that don't know what a bid is, they're elected by businesses in a set out geographical area. Ours is in Swansea city centre, of which we were elected back in 2006 and again in 2011, 2016. And we go for our next election by the businesses and stakeholders about May, June this year. So as I said, we started in 2006. We were the first bid in Wales, and we're one of the first in the UK as well. Those that don't know bids, to put it in perspective, in the UK, there's about 350 business improvement districts. They might be called different things, but they're business improvement districts. That equates to just over 122,000 businesses and 10,000 employees and a turnover around about 135 million. So that puts it into the scale. We're one of only maybe 10 in Wales at the present moment in time. We're more being started as we have been started since we started as well. The beauty of it is obviously elected, and we elected to make the areas a better place to shop, visit, stay, study, enjoy, make it better for business really. So we do that by funding transportation for rangers, taxi marshals, cleansing teams, help, guidance, grants, advice, and also the big Heart of Swansea brand is our consumer brand, which we drive our events through. We only operate in Swansea city centre, but there's loads of other bids all around the place as well. And the beauty of it is, having paid the levy myself, you can help as businesses help control what goes on outside your door, not just what goes on inside it.
That's great. Thanks, Russell. That's a good insight, a bit. Okay, the first question, we make a start. Can you tell us about the impact on your business since the start of the pandemic? I think, Kath, you touched on it on your introduction earlier on. Can you just give us a couple of minutes on it again, please, just to reiterate?
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, say no problem. Something that sort of haunts us when I see the figures every day. Currently, we're probably about 68–70% down. We've had a little bit of an increase with schools, but then with schools returning, everything's so great. You've had the schools back. That's an increase in the turnover. However, okay, it's a slight increase, but then the costs have increased. So as schools have been back on, lesser pupils, we've had the same number, back to the same number, full number of vehicles going out, full number of staff, full overheads. However, a very, very small proportion of turnover. So that's been a lot more costly. Or the NHS, any food supplied into them have been down because obviously they were throwing people out there as quick as they could. They don't want to keep people in hospital, the ones that are healthy enough to eat. Obviously hospitality totally decimated. And we're sort of in the middle, all of our customers, they're in the same boat as us. The manufacturers and the producers, they're in the same boat. But as we've said, and we've tried to get on numerous panels to get numerous audiences, not getting very far. And we feel that we sort of fall between the cracks because we can't get any of these grants at all the hospitality our customers get because we're not classed as hospitality, even though we depend on hospitality. So that's a bit frustrating. But as I say, we have tapped into sort of every market that we could. And literally overnight, people thought I was off my head when I opened the doors of Cash and Carry to the public. Best thing we did. And I will say, the support we have had from local people has been absolutely amazing. We had queues, and obviously we've had to monitor those, all with the social distancing and everything. But queues going out to the door, the goodwill from people has been immense. Yep. Then we've operated numerous click and collects where we've taken vehicles to customers' car parks, and bless them, you feel it's a bit of an insult asking, can we bring a lorry to your car park for people to come and collect goods? But they're closed. They've been great, willing to help us. A colleague of mine, Matt, he's been dealing with a load of local authorities, with the care packages, isolation packages, all that type of thing. So, we're still trading, say, 68% down, but we've tried in that time during the last year to tap into as much as we can to gain business from anywhere and everywhere. And as I said earlier, we're just praying for some good news because, look, on a positive, when we are able to go again, it will be 120 miles an hour because when people came out of lockdown last time, we totally underestimated, I think, how much people wanted to get back out and socialise because we thought, oh, here we go. Even when we are allowed to open our customers, then they're going to be down to half capacity because obviously 2 metre social distancing within their establishments. They'd invested money in all of that, so they'd be down to half the turnover. Not everybody's got the outdoor facilities. People wouldn't want to go out, but flipping heck did we get it wrong. August was absolutely crazy. And I think this time, okay, Eat Out to Help Out was a huge help. But I'm convinced, even if we didn't have Eat Out to Help Out, it would have been as crazy. And I think this time round, it will be exactly the same. They won't need to do an Eat Out to Help Out scheme. People are just so desperate to socialise, meet up with their friends. They don't mind that it's in a controlled environment with the 2 metre social distancing, with the masks. Look, we can all go out, enjoy in that environment. We just want to go out and meet people again. They say once those doors are open, the business will come back, but we just want that blinking pathway.
Great. That's a great insight, Kath, really positive as well. Thank you for that. Eirik, from the other end of the spectrum and different sector really and model of business, what's been your worst what's your thoughts on what it's caused for you, the pandemic?
Well, I mean, so our industry is similar to some, but in our industry, we always do forward orders. So we would probably forward order about 80% of any collection that would come, and that would happen predominantly between 6 and 9 months in advance. So if I take you back to last February, when things were looking not great, and then we went into lockdown in March, we had already done our orders back in August the year before for deliveries which were coming in February, March, spring, summer 2020. And in January 2020, we'd made our order for autumn, winter, which would be arriving in September. So we basically had 2 very hefty orders coming in, and the doors were shut. So cash flow for us was a really big kick in the teeth, really. Even though we've got our online sales, we were probably still down for last year. We were down about 79-80% on the whole year. We had a very, very good December when we did kind of, although we were tracking for a very good December until we got shut down on the 19th. But yeah, it's been, you know, I think the best way you can describe it is, you know, you get absolutely kicked, and then you get kicked again, and then you get kicked again, and it's nobody's fault. I'm not blaming anybody, but as a business, you just felt as if you're getting absolutely destroyed left, right, and centre. But I'm a glass half full guy, and you know, I'm not, like I said to you earlier, we had an opportunity to move shops, even though it was looking dire, even though there was probably problems and troubles ahead, there was an opportunity as well. And that's when we decided to move into a much bigger premises during it, you know, so.
Okay, thanks, Eric. That's a good insight from where you're coming from. Chris, you talked a little earlier about the export side of the business. Has that helped, or has it hindered your position in work?
It's definitely helped. In the early days, when you go back to last March, similar problem to IREG, really. We work ahead, so we were just starting to make winter orders. We'd received a lot of orders, and they were starting to come in. I mean, everything got put on hold. Shops were phoning, we don't want our order now, just put it on hold, we'll let you know. So with shops closing down, our orders dried up. So I think back in March and April, we were down to probably 30% of our turnover. And as the year went on, we were lucky because China opened up really quick, and sales, because our customers in China are online customers, and we're finding some of the UK, but any online customers, and we do have quite a lot of online, suddenly their business really took off. So the online businesses were placing really big orders, which certainly helped, but it still knocked us that all the shops were closing, especially on our knitwear side, which is more shops than online. So we found by the autumn things were getting back to normal. Then we've had another lockdown. So, but luckily, yeah, our own online business from November onwards was pretty much 100% up. So that's really helped. And then we found the Far East has really opened up. So I'd say all the shops are open, everything's back to normal pretty much in the Far East. In America, they seem to bury their head in the sand and assume that everything's going to be fine anyway. They didn't close shops, and so we are still getting orders as normal, really, you know, from America. So definitely the export has helped us. February we've just had the busiest February we've ever had in 20 years, which is bizarre. But we're not selling much in the UK yet. And what we've seen literally in the last week is loads of phone calls from shops. Okay, we're back, you know, we're off furlough, we're starting to think about opening up, and they've started putting orders in. Of course, now they want the orders in 2-3 weeks because they're going to be opening up. So, yeah. So,
okay.
definitely.
Thanks, Chris. Jane, how has it impacted your business?
Well, it's been pretty positive most of the time. The first week, as soon as obviously the end of March, when the first lockdown came, nobody knew what was going to happen. So our sales dropped off 80%. And I thought, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? And the same scenario as you, Irig. I mean, and you, Chris, we had orders on the water, stock on the water floating towards us. And I thought, oh my God, we're going to have to pay for all this stock, and we're not actually going to have any sales. So after the first week, it was really quite quick that people started getting a little bit more trust in the fact that they could still order, and they realized they could order on the website. We've got a very strong web presence. About 80% of our orders normally go through the web. Sales gradually increased, and it went back to normal. By the end of week 2, we were back on target. We were back onto our forecast. And then I realized that actually in the Far East, the factories weren't open. So I thought, oh my goodness, we're actually going to run out of stock. So it changed completely by week 2. By the end of March, we were starting to exceed our targets, and it just went up and up and up until by the summer, we were doing double what we forecast to do, which is absolutely marvelous. And I'm really appreciative of that. But it does put a massive strain on operations. I mean, to just suddenly double the amount of stock when you get it primarily from the Far East, the rest of the world, it was really difficult. I really struggled to get enough people and get them trained up in time to actually do the operations. We had to split everybody into 2 shifts, so we now work from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. So it's great, but it hasn't come without our challenges. Fortunately, China opened up, as you said, Chris, so we have got stock on the way, and it's continued to grow. What will happen now with the shops opening? I don't know, because 60% of our customers were or have got a physical presence. They're not just online. But they did seem to pivot quite well. And a lot of these shops were actually selling their products online from their shops, surprisingly. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens now. You know, does it continue? Does online drop off because suddenly everybody can go to the shops again? It'll be very interesting to see what happens. But yeah, generally it's been pretty positive for us.
Okay, well, that's another question coming up later on, actually. Russell, representing a lot of businesses within Swansea city centre area, what are you getting back?
The present moment in time, well, it's been tough. Really, it's been really tough. You know, obviously when it first started, but luckily enough, we've got bids in. Well, we work with bids in New Zealand, we work with bids in Italy, with Canada, USA, all around the world. So we managed to get some really good information and best practice really indoors. So the board and we worked hard to get a recovery framework in place as soon as we could. So we repurposed our operations and our finances in order that we could provide the PPE, the help, the guidance, the risk assessments, the communications, upscaling the communications, which was hugely important. And obviously giving and letting businesses know that a lot of the independents changed to online as well as that, which was absolutely fantastic. And they've continued doing it as well, to be honest with you. And long may it continue. They're doing well out of it. But I think it happened so quickly. It was incredible. And us trying to act so quickly is so fluid. No one's ever done this before. And with over 800 businesses, some businesses are still open, some were shut down. And it was that, right, what are we going to do side of it? So the range of systems all continued, our cleansing continued, our marketing and comms continued, but obviously our events stopped because we couldn't do sponsor triathlons or half marathons anymore and stuff like that. But slowly but surely we come through it, and we've had some very, very, some good investments already been made since the pandemic. There's been over 12 businesses, mostly independents, that have opened up on our bid area as well. So they're, like Ulrich has mentioned, seeing the opportunity and investing in the future of their business as well, of which we help them through. And of course, there's an awful lot going on in our bid area from an investment and redevelopment and infrastructure point of view, which has given that boost of confidence when we come out the other end of it as well. So yeah, we've had, like any other, we're private sector business. So we're like any other business, we are funded by the businesses, and we saw our income drop nearly 60%. I'm pleased to say, couple on, because we continue operations, businesses are right, okay, we can see we need now to obviously pay the bid levy, and we've raised that to over 70% income, which is pretty good going from a standing start, really. So yeah, it's been difficult, and some businesses have done really well out of it. But saying what Jane just said there, they've pivoted really well as well, and hospitality, takeaways, our Big Heart of Swansea platforms and all that have really, really accelerated as well. So huge negatives, but at the same time, some really good positives coming out of it as well.
Okay, great. Thanks, Russell. That brings us on nicely to our next question. What barriers need to be removed to sustain and grow the retail sector? Eirik.
This is probably, if you had the answer to this question, you'd be a billionaire, and we wouldn't probably be on this Zoom chat. We'd probably be somewhere really sunny by now. So this is the impossible question, which no one's got the answer to, but you can only throw, sometimes it's a case of casting your worm out into the river and see what bites sometimes. So there are things the council can do, the Welsh government can do. Yeah, of course there is. I'm delighted that they've got rid of the business rates for another year. I think that is probably the best thing they could have done, because it's just one other thing that you don't have to worry about for a year. You get a chance to try and build your bank balance up. Hopefully the easing of this lockdown and businesses can have some reassurance of going after it then. But just having that out of the way is the best thing. And from there, the barriers you can move well. I mean, for us, the barrier for us would be that everything would reopen back up. That's the best barrier that can move. I don't think I haven't got an answer for this question as far as thing, because I think if you've got the answer, I probably wouldn't tell anybody here anyway, because you'd sell it in an envelope to the highest bidder.
Yeah, so I think that's a great answer, to be honest with you, Eric. Chris, do you want to add to
that? From our point of view, so if you look at selling online, at the moment, the biggest barriers have been the problems with Europe, shipping. We sent a parcel to Germany on the next day service with UPS. It took 6 weeks to get there. I've had a hat take 4 weeks to get to Ireland. So it's been pretty ridiculous. But so I think, and obviously this is to do with partly to do with Brexit, and it's partly to do with the pandemic, because I think a lot of the hubs have been short-staffed, and then so I think we've got to get past this, and we've got to get things working smoothly between us and Europe. So
Okay.
yeah.
Good, thanks, Chris.
I'd like to see more help for small shops. I think the big retailers have done really well under this pandemic, and we've seen now a non-essential retailer letting the big shops sell everything again. But what about these little retailers? I think they should target some help towards the little retailers at the expense of the bigger ones.
Yeah, so that's a great point, actually. Kath, do you want to add to that?
It's basically a cross between what Chris and Eirig have said. As you say, there is no answer. But touching what Chris has said, level playing fields is totally unfair. It's totally ridiculous that they're allowing the fat cats to get fatter, because that's what's happening. We didn't get with the cash and carry because we were classed as retail back at the start of the pandemic, because we were primarily wholesale. We couldn't get any rate relief, nothing at all. And then in fairness to Nigel, our FD, he tried and tried and tried. And then just a chance to one of these agencies, yes, I'll get it for you. And we said, well, we had nothing to lose because we were still classed as wholesale. But because we could prove that the number of transactions going through our cash and carry hugely outweighed the number of wholesale transactions, we did actually get a rate relief. But say, going back to what Chris said and Eirig, there needs to be more help, support for the independent businesses. The chains, the nationals, they've got away with it. They didn't need the help because people are naturally, it drives me nuts when I just go to Carmarthen town, you've got all these independent restaurants and pubs, but for some reason, people are still running and, queuing for the multiples. They all complain about them. They all give them bad reviews on TripAdvisor and social media, but why do they keep on supporting them? They should support the independents. But say level playing fields, and to encourage people to support the independents is vital to get every town. Eirig can relate to Carmarthen because Carmarthen is an absolute ghost town. And I just hope that we can get the towns back up and running.
Yeah, good point. Jane, do you want to add, please?
Yeah. Personally, I think online, because I've done so well with online, and obviously we can see online is absolutely booming at the moment. I think one of the barriers to smaller people succeeding online is the fact that there's a lot of learning with digital technology. You've got to have a really good platform to sell from. And actually, I think if you want to go online, it's not something you can just do overnight. So that can be a bit of a barrier, actually understanding how to get really good functionality on your website. And there's massive customer expectations now, and I think we can slightly blame Amazon for this. Amazon gets blamed for a lot, quite rightly, but the expectations of the customers are huge now. You go and order something and you get it the next day. So customers are not going to understand why small companies can't do that. So I think that puts a barrier with up against people being able to go online quite easily. Couriers is another one. You can order on Next and you can order at 10 o'clock at night and you get it the next day. You can order on Amazon and you get it within hours. Argos do same day deliveries. I'm trying desperately to get a courier to pick up at 10 o'clock at night because we don't finish till 10 o'clock at night. So customers can order till late into the afternoon and and then they get their delivery. Can't do it. UPS won't. I've tried all the couriers. So I think they really need to up their game and say, right, you know, there's going to be a lot of people online. They really have to get their game together. And I understand it's been difficult for them because suddenly they've got to deliver everything because we can't collect it from shops. From the high street point of view, I think, as you said, the big boys have dominated always, Catherine. So, you know, I think perhaps there has to be a little bit of a rebalancing. A lot of these big boys have gone. So, you know, you can't expect smaller retailers to just suddenly go in and take city centre prime spots because it's going to be too expensive. So I think they have to rethink how are they going to, if they want a diverse community, which seems to be the way that it's going. Obviously, you'll know a lot better about this, Russell, but it seems to be that you want a diverse community with lots of little shops and cafes and eateries and places to work. You'll be working from community hubs, as I believe they're going to be, more than city centres. So they're going to want small independents in the middle of town. So I think perhaps they need to rethink how much they charge for city centre locations. And then the last one is parking. Parking has always been a big issue. You know, you can go to online, obviously, you can go to city centre, outside city centres, to the big outside areas. What are they called? The big city centre
Retail parks.
Thank you. Retail parks, and park there for nothing. Whereas you've always had this problem with parking in city centres. So I think perhaps that's going to be a barrier, a small barrier, but add them all up together and you've got quite a few barriers there to people coming into town. So yeah, that's my thinking.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jane. That was great. Russell brings you in nicely, please.
Yeah, and it's good to, you know, everything's been seen by the panel is something obviously we're quite aware of as well, and how we can combine it all. I think from us as businesses about having a level playing field with online as well, because business rate is always, I know we got it free for another year, but it's you know, it's always a bottom line cost to any business really. So I think we're looking forward to see what comes out of that with the review that's been happening. And you know, we've got some really good evidence which we've presented back to colleagues to make sure that they're going in the right way. City centre and town centres are changing. We all know that, as we just said, they're not dying, they're just changing. It's like any business, it needs to change. And I think what we're doing in our bid area really, it goes back to what James was saying, is that mixed use. So for instance, if you look recently in the paper, a Debenhams store as well has just recently been bought by a university. And as we all know, the lifeblood of any business is footflow. So we can put footflow in there and spend, but also above that, Debenhams, for instance, in I think it's in, not Bristol, but somewhere down that way, they're now turning it into offices above that store. But at the same time, they're offering the space to independent and startup businesses. So it becomes a bit of a hub, really, for it to all happen on as well. Rent as well. I think the rent, I'm not an expert on this, but I think landlords are going to have to review their rent as well, and how they can attract and the incentives which they have for certainly from a retailers and FMCG point of view as well. But it is very much the barriers are, right, how do we make it easier to do business in town and city centres? And technology has a big part of that as well. And I know that governments are looking at it in a big way of digital data and technology to see how that can support businesses from across it. And you need people working here so they can spend money in different shops and different offering. And one thing that's come forward is that people want a better experience. They want better customer service. You know, they want to be served. They want this experience, and that encourages repeat business. And I think retailers and shops are going to react to that, and they're already doing it. But I think it'll start ramping up, and that's what we're preparing for here.
Okay, thanks, Russell. So brings me on nicely to the next question. Next couple of questions, actually. I'm going to merge these two together. What do you see as being the future of retail is one question. Well, I think a lot of you have answered that question. A lot of positivity in the room, which is great to see. So what's the future of retail? Is there one, or is it digital, etc.? What bricks and mortar retail model do you see as a success or exemplar? And would you like to see more of it? So therefore, you've got the businesses actually in the town centres or not, or in the out of town centres, as in bricks and mortars and not online. Russell, I'll carry on with you if you don't mind.
Yeah, certainly, Alan. I think There's a whole host. I think hospitality is coming to the fore because I think, as Catherine said, we all can't wait to get out and socialize because we're human beings at the end of the day. So I think hospitality will have a big bounce back for that. So I think the bricks and mortar success example of that could be the likes of Brewdog, for instance. I know they got we got one here in Swansea, but it's a really good concept of it as well. And because of what they do and the way they do it so quickly, but also the combining of online sales as well to anything that's going on there. The online sales is not going away. It never has been. We have to adapt to it. For instance, we put in click and collect spaces into our bid area many moons ago, pre-COVID, in the last ballot even. And those are used an awful lot, but then it's the link selling that comes with that. They might go into Urig's type of shop and say, right, I'm picking up this, but also, oh, I need to buy, I don't know, something else that's there, hand sanitizer these days. So it's just adapting to the way it is. And that, as from an example point of view, it used to be the likes of you, John Lewis, which are a fantastic retailer. To put it in context, our anchor tenant here in our city centre is the arena. And that, if you look at it from that perspective, it's no longer your likes of your John Lewis's type of thing. From a consumer point of view, that's what's going to help drive the economy back out again. It's thinking differently, I think, which all businesses are on the screen are doing by the sounds of it anyway.
Okay, thanks, Russell. Irig, you were mentioned there. Do you wanna come in and make a comment, please?
Yeah, I think as far as who will succeed, I think is totally dependent on those in charge and those who are running it on a daily basis. See, I'm a massive believer that people will always buy from people. Doesn't matter what you've got product-wise, they will buy off you. If you're good enough at what you do and you give people the level of service that they want, then you have that customer. What you have to do with that customer then is titivate. If you can get all of your customers, all of your staff, to do this, and I tell you who does this really well, it's Castell, plain and simple. You can go down to Castell into the cash and carry and you can ask the 40-year-old guy in the corner you see every time you go there, or the new kid you've never seen before, you'll get the same level of service. It'll be please, it'll be thank you, what else can I do for you? Oh, by the way, do you want us to put you on our data line? Do you want us to put you on our system? We can let you know when we've got free stuff coming up. We send stuff out to you. Let me give you a cheeky little 5% discount off your next purchase next time you come in. That's on me. And you have these cards behind your desk. Kath's going like this. I've never had one of those. That's all I got. But these are little things that you do. And then when people leave your shop, they will have an experience of, God, you know what? That was really good in there. Think of when you go for a meal somewhere and you have a meal and you go, the food wasn't great, but I tell you what, the service we had tonight of that guy was superb. Do you know what? We'll give that a second chance. You go and have an amazing meal and you get terrible service. What do you say? I ain't going back there. So for me, those who will succeed will be the ones who literally hold their customers like this, and you can't see it, in the palm of your hands, and you treasure every single one of them. And I think they will be the businesses that'll still strive. They'll be fine on the high street. I've got no issues about it. They'll be absolutely fine, because as the sun will rise tomorrow, a woman will drag a husband shopping on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, that's a great point, Derek, actually. You've answered both questions there. So you need the customer actually service, the customer experience, a good customer experience, and you've got the bricks and mortar then within that premises you need to visit. And I'm on your side with the getting out there and things. You mentioned Kath, Castell Howell. Can you expand on that, Kath? Can I have something free?
I can say he's after the 5%, he is. No, but no, I'm very much on the same page as Eric, and Eric knows, I do shop with Eric and his wife, but I was brought up, and whether, I say it's blinking hard, because I'd like to think the younger generation, again, you support local. Not Christmas time, every time you go and do a purchase, I try and support local, but then again, not everybody's like me, not everybody was brought up like me. I try to bring my children up like that. But it's going back to customer service. If you had a bad experience, you will always remember, if that person's put it right, you will remember them for putting it right. You'll forget what the problem was, but you'll go back to that person because you know that your purchase was valued and was appreciated. But I think it's striking a balance. You know, when we were doing the click and collect, and I was phoning customers with collection times, because we had to change our computer system overnight, because it's, as you can imagine, it is not retail orientated. It's a lot further forward now than what it was, but it was nowhere near at the start. But we were phoning people up. They'd managed to place an order online, and we were phoning them with collection times. I rung whether it was the best or the worst run for me, the Llandail and Dyfri area. And I thought, oh, I won't know anybody now, because it's not been horrible. We had hundreds of people to phone every day, which we were so appreciative of. But every person I knew, every person I called, I knew. And Crick, you ended up having a 5-10 minute chat, because people, again, were so supportive. They were purchasing from us because they felt for us. But one gentleman who struck me, Arwyn Capeltidis, we call him, the gentleman is in his 70s, but he'd managed to place an online order, and he was, and he'd explained how he got through it and how he found it so easy. Because I did think that that generation would never ever be able to go down the online routes. They would never get into it because they'd be afraid of it. That's one thing we have learned, no matter what age people are at, they've had to learn how to go online. And whilst there's a fear factor, people will stay online because it's easier, we're used to it, we've had to get into that mold over the last 12 months. I'm still with Eirig, that customer service, that personal, face-to-face, in our business, you know, that one-to-one service, because you will go in and you'll go for that. You know, I do it myself. I go in for 1 or 2 things, you come out with a bag full. You go in with a basket, you end up swapping to a trolley, and that I hope will carry on going. But that's definitely, it's down to people, it's down to the customer experience and value for money, and not on price, but value for money on the experience.
Yeah, I think you're both right there. David Jones has commented from Connect SA5. There's e-commerce companies such as Made.com investing in physical premises, because they've realized that in the immersive experience of retail can't be replicated online. Jane, do you want to come in on that?
Yeah, I think those are brilliant answers, and I think customer service, it's so much about customer service. I mean, we don't have the luxury of really seeing our customers very much here, so we have to rely on digital experience. We have to give a really good customer service on the phone, on live chat, and we've worked very, very hard to make our website very user-friendly. And I think the businesses that are going to succeed are going to be the omni-channel ones. I think obviously you can do very, very well in a community hub, a town as well. But I think if you mix that with a really good online offering as well, then I think you're the real winner there, because I think you're going to be able to expand, you're going to be able to sell to anybody in any area. Plus you're going to have the personal experience, customer experience as well. So I think we'll see quite a lot of small shops that also have a strong online presence. So really behind them, they have a big website, so they can offer lots of products, but actually they'll be reinforcing their branding and reinforcing their customer experience in the store as well. So I think we'll see a lot more branding in city centres, not just, obviously big stores are not going to be viable anymore because there's going to be such a strong online presence as well. So you won't have your big stores anymore, you'll have small stores, but they'll use that, I think, as a shop front for the big online offering they've got. I also think something you touched on there was the grey pound. And I think we're completely ignoring the grey pound, especially online. I think there's a lot of money to be had there, and people aren't appreciating that actually everybody's being pushed online. And there's a whole older generation that will be buying, the baby boomers, I'm one of them, that will be buying online. So I think we mustn't forget that it's not all about youngsters anymore. And I also think we think of online as a website, but I don't think it is going to be just a website. I think it's going to be also the whole digital experience that you'll go on. If you look at Instagram now and the way that it's going, you go on and you look at something and you're interested in something, and hey presto, you can buy it. So I think you're going to be bringing experiences online as well. So you're going to have in the city centre, I believe you're going to have a lot more experience-rich content, if that's the right word, in the actual towns, and they'll be using branding, brand awareness. So if they get their brand out there, perhaps they have a small store, perhaps they don't even need a store. perhaps they have people walking about, because if you don't actually have to go in and buy the products, do they have people walking about, especially for bigger items? Say you're selling gym equipment. I mean, do you go into a store, or do you have the experience of going into an area where you can, you know, if I go in and I say, oh, well, I'm getting on a bit now, I want to build my strength up, and I can go in and I can actually use the equipment, and they say, this is what you should be doing, and they explain to you what you need, and then you can go and buy it. You've got the experience, plus you can just click it, and you can say, right, okay, and it's delivered to your house by the evening. So I think things are going to change quite dramatically. Why would you want to go and pick up a big item and carry it home when you should have the whole infrastructure of having the deliveries? So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of change.
Okay, thanks, Jane. Thanks, Jane. That's great. Chris, do you want to pick up on a few points there to round off?
I think in the past there's been a lot of these big chain stores. They've bought basically rubbish out of China, stuck a brand name on it, and sell it at a high price. And in the past, we've all been a bit obsessed with how cheap can you buy something. I sort of think that, looking at my own kids, the younger generation now are starting to appreciate quality a bit more. And we're seeing it. We're getting a lot of customers coming to us saying they've been buying in the Far East, but they actually want to source something in the UK, and they're buying our socks. You know, our socks are twice the price, but they say no, but they appreciate the quality. So I think it's not that bad a thing that during this pandemic, it's cleared out some of these big chains that weren't actually making any money, were producing rubbish, and it's shown. So some of them have been on the verge for years, and they needed to go. And now that they're out the way, I think, yeah, you know, there is a good opportunity for small independents. Like Eric said, offers a really good service. People do, if you actually sell something to someone and they can get information and you can talk to them, then I think they're more likely to buy. So I think there's a good opportunity there. But I do think all these little independents, they need help to get an online presence as well. So I think it's a balance between bricks and mortar and online. You do need an online presence. And really, it makes a little shop in Carmarthen or Ammanford or wherever, but actually you can sell all over the world. So I think a good online presence as well.
Okay, it's great. Thanks, Chris. Brings us nicely on to our next question, really. And I think most of you have answered this. Does digital data or insight and technology have a bigger part to play in retail? And if so, in what way? I think a lot of you have answered that already. So we have a quick one-liner around. Jane, do you want to just make a quick one-liner on that one? I think you've answered most of it.
I'm not very good at one-liners. It's not my strong point.
I can tell, that's why I said, can you give us a one-liner?
I think it's an absolute game changer. Business
Okay.
intelligence, I think it will change the world, basically, because you can see everything. It's all there, all the information's there, what your customers want, everything. Sorry, not
Okay.
a one-liner.
Oh, thanks, Jane. It's lovely. Kath?
100%. And, you know, we were sort of set in our ways, old fashioned. We've, you know, if the pandemic has done anything, it's driven us down that route, whether we wanted to or not. And it is coming round now where we do appreciate that, you know, what part it has to play in our business on both sides, the wholesale and the retail side.
Okay, thanks, Kath. Chris?
Yeah, a friend of mine used to have a shop in Ammanford. It's just a little shop. I remember him telling me that he'd sold a string vest to somebody in Australia. That sort of shows that it's these small shops, but I think they need a lot of help to get a good online presence. You know, you've got the big people that throw a lot of money at marketing, and we can't do that. So I think that's where in the future, you know, we need help with get a website, get a good website, and then help market it.
Great point. Ireg, finish off before I come to Russell.
Yeah, I think as far as online goes, I mean, in our business where we will do luxury brands as well, I can tell you now that on our system, the average purchase is about 2.1 items, and the average cost is about £79. The average price in store is about £94. So people will buy the cheaper stuff online, but I don't sell as much of the cheaper stuff in store. So if you want quality, I think people come for the experience and then buy it. But the cheaper stuff, like I just had an order through now for the cheapest t-shirt I've got in the shop, as a prime example of timing. So, you know, it's not I think online most definitely will have its place. If you're buying stuff that you always buy, you can click a button and it's there tomorrow. If you're buying a bit of unknown, then you don't know.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Russell, just to recap on that, please.
Yes, we've been doing it for years. Insight is absolutely key for us to focus our marketing and promotions on, and to get a better return on investment. It's business, and it's here to stay. But there's so many different channels you can use now. And we're on top of that. So we can help drive in the foot flow to our bid area from other areas.
Okay, thanks for that. This last, well, not quite the last question, but we're not far off it now, and I'm mindful of time. This echoes what Robert Chapman of Chapman and Company Limited have said about government support and stuff. Do you feel there are gaps in support and funding for the sector? Let's go to Chris, please.
Yeah. Well, basically what I just said, I think we're going to need help with the digital side. These small businesses, we haven't got the technical know-how. We can't afford to throw a lot of money at marketing, and it's all well and good having a great website, but if nobody's visiting it, then you're not going to sell anything. So I think that's where government could start helping, and groups like this. We can band together and share experiences and ideas, and help each other to sort of grow our websites.
Great, thanks, Chris. Rick?
Yeah, I mean, I think the government have helped with their grant schemes. Obviously, they've obviously helped us in retail. It's just interesting that if your RVs are, what is it, somewhere around 13,000 and below, then it was like £3,000, and then if you're between 13 and 50, then it was £5,000. So there's a big old gap there between somebody who's turning over £1 million and somebody who's turning over 150,000 a year get the same amount of grant, with completely different balance sheets going on and completely different. The cash flows would be all over the place. But whether the government can do any more, I don't know. Yeah, I'd love them to throw me another 50 grand, but that's not going to happen, is it? These are realistically, we are not going to get anything more now. I think that is it. We're on our own. But yeah, I would love for the Welsh government to help businesses with more tech stuff. That is for definite. That would be the wish list then, as such, as well. Yeah.
Okay, some great points there. And what we got to remember is who's paying all this back. At some point, we're going to have to start paying it back. Jane, do you want to come in, please?
Yes, I'm not a great authority on this, but the one experience I have had is I have had funding in the pandemic, but it wasn't actually because the business was struggling. It was because they were encouraging people. It was the Economic Resilience Fund, and they were helping me to improve my technology and my automation, because we were really struggling to cope with the demand. That actually we put some automation in place, and we put better systems in place so as we could deal with the demand. And I think it was really nice. I was quite surprised, to be honest. And I questioned this, and I said, why are you giving us this funding? And they said, we want you to be able to cope with the demand that's there. So I thought that was a good angle for the government as well, to not forget the companies that hopefully would continue to grow and be able to employ people, because a lot of it is about employing people as well. So as long as I could guarantee that I would continue to grow, and well as you can guarantee that, but it was in exchange for creating jobs in the next 3 years. So I thought that was a good second angle as well.
Great, thanks, Jane. Kath, anything you need? Support, more funding?
Yeah, I don't think it's been very fair across the board, and don't get me wrong, it was a heck of a job to do. They had to offer funding for, all businesses in a very, very short space of time. As I said early on, I feel we have fallen between the cracks because we don't come into a specific sector that they actually recognise. We're a year down the line, we've been fighting to try and be recognised, but have failed. And of course, they're not going to look at it now, because in theory, we should be sort of coming out of it. But how long we come out of it, who knows? But, there are some sectors then, a good family friend of ours who's in business, obviously I'm not going to say what type of business, he is spending money now and he feels guilty about applying for these grants that they're literally throwing at him. But he's going for them under advice from his accountants and financial advisors, which if I was him, I would do exactly the same. And he's in a better financial position now than he ever has been. He's buying new equipment, and he's not going for the grants to buy new equipment. It's because they're sitting in his bank account. And that's sort of, I do find it hard not to have a go with him, but you know, if the system is there to be abused, he's abused it and to his benefit. But the system shouldn't be there in the first place. So, you know, whilst we've fallen, you know, between the cracks, he's profited on it. And I just don't think the overall system to everybody is fair and not okay. On the flip side, maybe there wasn't an actual system, there isn't a system to suit everybody. But I do think that some businesses, some sectors could have been looked after better.
Okay, thanks, Cass. Good point there. Russell, do you want to finish off on that question, please?
Yeah, just on a couple of points, if I may. You know, we've done free Google work with Google and Visa to do free training for our businesses to up their skill sets as well. And we've done that, and there's had a massive uptake on it as well. And that's what we tend to do as a bid. Tech stuff, absolutely agree. It is part of the Transforming Towns agenda, which the Welsh Government are doing, which we're working with them on in partnerships for us to deliver to our businesses here as well. So, you know, as Jane said, they are doing stuff because they realize there is a gap there for upskilling and developing businesses in order they can do bricks and mortar online as well. And talking to with 870 businesses, yes, there has been gaps in the funding. Absolutely there has. There's no getting away with it. But talking to bids around the different places of the world, you know, we've been quite good in the UK and in Wales with the type of monies that the businesses have been getting, although there has been gaps there as well. For instance, in one European country, not many businesses have had anything. They've been told to shut and get on with it. So, you know, and I agree with everybody saying we're not, you know, some businesses have done very well with it. Some people have fallen between the gaps, really. But that infrastructure and digital training is there. It's just obviously the Welsh Government, I think, need to maybe communicate about it a bit more.
Okay, thanks, Russell. Before I ask for a roundup question off you all for your last thoughts, Joy Stanley's got a good question. I think I can answer this about placements for young people within the sector. I think as we get out of this pandemic and the lockdowns get lifted, etc., I think businesses are, like Kat said, it's going to be 150 mile an hour. It's going to be so quick. That business is going to be so flat out. I think young people have got a fantastic opportunity to link in with this, and governments, Welsh Government have got a good opportunity, and education authorities got a good opportunity to link young people into the sector, into all sectors, into business per se. So I think I hope that answers your question, Joy. Every opportunity for young people to capitalize on this when we come out of lockdown. Okay, mindful of time, guys. We've been nearly an hour now, so it's normally about 40 minutes, but thank you for that. I'm just going to round off by asking you one last thought, one last final thought of where you are. A positive thought would be nice. A one-liner, Jane, if you possibly can.
Oh no, not another one-liner.
I think one. You're fine. You're fine. Yeah, can I just have one last thought? I won't come to you first.
Right?
I won't come to you first, Jane. I'll go to Chris.
I think it's going to evolve into something completely different after the pandemic. I think there's going to be lots of opportunities for retailers, lots of opportunities for anybody entrepreneurial. I think the world's going to have to go very green, and I think this is a big change that we're going to see. I think once the news of COVID starts to die off, and hopefully that will happen fairly soon, I think it will all be about saving our planet. I think there will be a massive push to us being green, and I think that will also encourage anti-globalization. I don't know if there is such a word, but you know what I mean. I think it will be more about community hubs, buying local, keeping local, going into those hubs, and I think that will work for everyone. You will still, of course, have all your digital behind that, but I think there'll be a big push towards buying and manufacturing and buying locally and living locally and working locally.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jane. Cass, do you want to add to that, please?
I think you know what mine is, and that is support local, no matter what type of business, not just go to our customers instead of the chains, but I mean, you know, the likes of Eirig, the likes of Chris, everybody like that, you know, even Jane and things. I think it's very, very important. And just very quickly, you know, my children, one is 25 and one is 28, and they have seen their friends sort of waking up to, instead of going to the chains, to supporting local, and that encourages me. And I just hope that people have realised the value of their local community, the value of their businesses in the community, what these businesses give back to their local community, and that from here on they will support them in a bigger and better way than they've ever done.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Kath. Chris?
Yeah, I think there's two words that we've come through it. Is opportunity and collaboration are going to be absolutely key when you come up with that. You know, out of our stakeholders, we have around about 400 of the 870 which are independent shops as well. So we sort of get the national side and we get the independent point of view as well. And we support obviously the shop local, as of course we do, and we spend an awful lot of money on that, and because that supports the foundation economy as well. So I think two things are opportunity and collaboration are going to be absolutely key going forward.
Okay, thanks, Russell. Chris?
Yeah, well, my dad always told me if you go into a recession and you actually come out the other side, some of your competitors have gone and there's always an opportunity. I think we've certainly been through a recession of sorts, and we're coming out the other side hopefully now, and I think there's going to be a really good opportunity. Hopefully people are dying to get out and spend money. So yeah, I think we can be positive now and go for it.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Chris. Hi, Rick.
Yeah, I kind of agree with the panel. I would definitely say the opportunity is there, but I would put a word of caution potentially out there for it as well. But the key thing is, I think for all retailers, especially your independents, when the restrictions are lifted, I think it will be a little bit of a free-for-all to start with. I genuinely do think so. People will want to spend, they'll want to interact. And it is at that point that you have the opportunity to grab customers. Because the big boys have gone, especially from town. I'm thinking about myself, they've gone. There's not many there, but people will still come to Carmarthen because that's their local town. So they will come into your shop, whether they've been before, never been before, they will pop in. And that's your opportunity. So I think that is where the opportunity, where you capture them at that moment. So I would say, get on your game ready for when those customers come, because that's your chance.
Fabulous, Jacobo. Okay, all that remains is for me to thank our main sponsor, Swansea University School of Management. Today's event sponsors Swansea Bid. Thank you, Russell, for that. Our panelists, you guys, and all of you in the room again for your company this last hour. It's been really informative and a great conversation piece. Please look forward to our next roundtable event, which is Thursday, the 15th of April, where the topic will be Brexit, the story so far. And there's a lot going on around that at the moment. We're looking for a sponsor for this event, so please let us know if you're interested. So hopefully see you all then. From the board and myself, enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe and well, please. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah.